Let's do a fun breakdown of a scene from the movie Mulholland Drive. So let's put a little background into this. Uh, Something to consider. That being that things in this material world are not made out of nothing, they are made out of the invisible. And also keep in mind that nothing is truly secular, that there's always some basis in the idea of gods. Just consider the legal system and the goddess Justitia or Justice, or think of the electron and the origins in ancient Greece, and then consider that each nation has in its history a patron or matron deity, and think about how this then is revealed through the localized cultures, the rituals, the traditions that are similar, but where there are nuances to their neighbors. Consider also sort of the etymology or the potential or supposed root of something like the god Deimos, the god of terror, and then think of this concept of terrorism and who is really doing it. And you can think of where this really became, into the mainstream, and think of the French Revolution and what they would call revolutionary terror, and how this was actually legitimized uses of terror by the state or by the government. And then the idea is that it's legitimate because its goal is liberty. And then think about again how that idea of liberty circles back onto the god Libertas or goddess, and how that then fits in with justice and justitia. And the idea of the Statue of Liberty, the goddess there in New York Harbor. Okay, so in this scene, the director is going, and we're going to say it's pretty late at night, even if it's summertime. Well, if it's summertime, it's clearly going to be, 10, 11 o'clock at night, if not later. And if it's the winter, it could be as early as 7. But let's just say it's after normal working hours. There's no sign anyone is there. There's no movement. You don't see any lights on in a nearby office or, office barn type situation. And think about the 33rd degree latitude north, and how a lot of the early movie studios were located on or close to the 33rd degree latitude north. And is this significant? I don't know. In the context of this being a demon and the occult, a sort of secret societies or numerologist being into that number 33, then what would we say? Could this corral slash cattle ranch be a site of sacrifice? And that's why it was not developed, even though it's near the prime real estate of Hollywood and Southern California. And, why weren't a bunch of mansions built there, at least by, the 1980s, to cash in on this prime real estate? So then you can think of what is really electricity, and maybe consider the idea of the dielectric and the magnetic, and then where those two polarities or aspects merge, then you get the flow of current. But in this case, this reaction or action of electricity or dielectricity and magnetism, that's the demon manifesting into this material world. Look at the inverse symbolism of this location. So it's completely dark, and yet when the director crosses the threshold and they go underneath the gate going into the corral, and then you have that symbolism of the skull, what happens? The light begins to flicker. So it's kind of the reverse. Let's say the supposition then is this is a demon manifesting into this reality. Instead of it being a benevolent spirit that brings light, In this case, it's more of a malevolent spirit bringing light. So you have when the demon enters this space, there's light, but prior to the demon coming into this space, there's darkness. So the symbolism of the skull, sure, we can say that's just a cattle motif, but at the very least, notice how it's placed over the threshold, basically delineating, outside the corral and then inside the corral. And it's only after the director crosses over that threshold, now you get this alchemical reaction or action where the light begins to flicker, and then the light appears, or the light turns on. So what? Somebody in a nearby building flicked the switch to turn on the light. How would they really, know that the director's there? Or how would they know to time it to turn on the light just before the cowboy / demon is right there in the corral? So that's not really very plausible as an explanation of what's going on. So why is this character, this supposed demon, why are they dressed in 1940s or 1950s cowboy clothing style? So the concept then is this demon mimicking what they have observed and like within human society? And this is their uniform of choice, where they're trying to present themselves as a human, but they really don't know how to do it when they take on human form. Notice how ill-fitting the clothes are. And is this because, the demon doesn't desire or care to really appear with accuracy and a true sense of style? Or because they don't really manifest into human form very often, they don't really know how to pull it off? They allude that they know the director's whereabouts, that they were at that cheap hotel. So was a message passed to them? Or we can say that they have been able to observe the director from the intangible realm.
Good night.
And then notice in reverse, as soon as the demon translates back to the intangible, the light goes out. They just disappear. And yes, of course, this is just a stupid movie, or to some, this may be their favorite movie. That's all fine. This is just a thought experiment. It's just an opinion, and opinions are like, what, everybody's got them. So take it for what it is. And of course, don't let it affect those wheels of commerce. Yes, to Hermes, to Mercury, let the transactions roll, let the wheels of commerce turn, and let everybody make their way of living.